I've seen a lot of complaints amongst the Bruins fandom that like, oh, boys club, going promoting within the family or whatever, like staying within the organization, their guys. Does this have that stink to you? Because it really doesn't to me.
Let's talk Boston Bruins in their coaching search, because we saw yesterday there were reports that it was down seemingly to Jay Woodcroft and Marco Sturm. Late on Wednesday evening, our friend Cam Robinson tweets that it looks like Marco Sturm is going to be the next head coach of the Boston Bruins. There's wiggle room there in that it can be interpreted as eventually Marco Sturm will be named head coach of the Boston Bruins. Elliot Friedman reported this morning, late last night, that essentially things are looking very good for Marco Sturm to become the next head coach of the Bruins, but that he is due in Boston on Friday to meet with the team again. So it seems it's not official. It seems it's not definite, but the way I funnel that all in and I press enter and the calculator tells me Marco Sturm's probably the next head coach of the Bruins.
Probably. More likely than not.
We don't know. More likely than not. I would be surprised if it were Woodcroft at this point, but we don't know because it hasn't happened yet, and they're still due to have, I don't know what this meeting is, whether it's another interview or whatever, but former Bruin, Winter Classic great, famous German, Ontario Reign head coach, Marco Sturm, could be your next head coach of the Bruins.
Did the Bruins win the Joe Thornton trade?
Did they? He was the centerpiece with that. I would honestly say that Brad Stewart was the centerpiece, but Marco Sturm, a first-round pick, I want to say 1996 of the Sharks. Good player, just like a 20-goal guy. He'd get you 20. Great memory I have was when the Bruins dumped him to L.A. Peter Chiarelli told us that the press release said future considerations. Peter Chiarelli said, I know it says future considerations, but it's nothing. So, any questions? And the great, now late Mike Loftus was like, you can trade a guy for nothing? And he was like, yeah, kind of. He was like, they don't have to give you, like the CBA lets you do that. And eventually Chiarelli was like, it was kind of the, I think you should leave, like, oh yeah, it was like a hit and run thing. And then like the more questions he gets asked about it, he's like, if you keep asking me about this, I'm going to, like, I think Chiarelli realizing like, fuck, like, am I not allowed to say that I just did a trade for nothing?
That's what the Vegas Golden Knights did with Marc-Andre Fleury. They traded him for like future considerations. Then they named a player later and then like gave him back later. So it was literally for nothing.
Man.
Hell yeah.
It's
salary cap's a hell of a drug, isn't it?
It's crazy. I did ask around a little bit about like, because I don't know anything about Marco Sturm as a head coach, and I'm not going to pretend to, but I've asked about it, and from all accounts, from the people that I've asked, he is beloved with his players.
That would not surprise me. I knew him a little when he was in Boston, and he was the nicest, friendliest guy. I don't know if that means that he's a like players coach per se. I think we need to do maybe a little more digging there or get some people in the know, but would not surprise me at all that anybody who works with him thinks that he's the salt of the earth, because I only covered him for half a year before he was traded for nothing, but very, very nice guy. Hockey players are very, very nice guys, though. So
can I ask you this? Yeah. I've seen a lot of complaints amongst the Bruins fandom that like, oh, boys club, going promoting within the family or whatever, like staying within the organization, their guys. Does this have that stink to you? Because it really doesn't to me.
No, I think that he has a Bruins connection, but I think that it is like kind of like the Patriots hiring Mike Vrabel. Vrabel has more bona fides at this point, but
he's been elsewhere.
He's from his own coaching tree.
Right.
This isn't an assistant on Claude Julien's staff. He's a guy who played for Claude Julien, but it's not like you're bringing back one of his assistants. It's not that to me. I think that if this were Jay Leach, I would say absolutely. But the biggest thing it tells me is that they were having a hard time finding a head coach, like a guy, a bulletproof candidate. Mm-hmm. Instead, they're getting a first-time NHL head coach, which I think is fine because I don't think the Bruins are going to be great the next few years anyway. Sean, did you show the picture? Do we have a picture of Marco Sturm for people who don't know what he looks like? There's a picture of Marco. Look at him. What a nice guy.
That's some German royalty right there.
That is a picture taken by Gene Principe of Marco Sturm and the great young Leon Draisaitl. Look how perfectly that tie falls on Leon. That is just about to hit the top of the pan. That you cannot get a more perfect tie length than that.
Well, length, yes. He needs to get the tail tucked back in.
Yeah, a little sloppy there, but he looks like a young man.
It's crazy. Leon doesn't strike me as somebody who was ever young. I feel like he's had his beard and his look forever.
He's got some baby fat on him there.
Yeah, it was a young boy.
Someone who is new to Leon Draisaitl, not new anymore, said that they recently watched a video called like Leon Draisaitl being grumpy, and it was like 7 minutes long.
I'm surprised it was that short.
And I was like, I'm gonna have to check this out. I guarantee I have seen every part of it, have sent it to Pete over the years. I don't mind this hire. I don't hate this hire. I think that it's like it's a mix between like Gerard Mayo hire in that it's a first time, like, do we know, like, what's this guy actually going to be? We both have said we don't really know what he is as a coach. And some of the Mike Vrabel where it's, of course, Bruins ties, but got outside, saw the world, studied abroad.
I'm a little disappointed based off my expectations heading into the offseason with the coaching carousel, the names that were out there. Like I would have liked an established name, like a sexy name, like a Mike Sullivan, or even a Joel Quenneville would have been exciting here in Boston, or like a sexier new name like David Carl. Like one of those guys would really probably move the needle more than Marco Sturm. But like at the same time, I'm going to give the guy a chance. If he ends up being the hire, I'm going to give him a chance to prove that he's a good head coach. Like Marty St. Louis was plucked off the street to coach the Montreal Canadiens and has turned out to be an awesome coach for them. So who am I to be like, oh, this guy can't coach. He's never coached in the NHL before. Not the right guy for the job. I'm going to give him a chance. People seem to like him. And I don't think it's the Bruins are hiring their like one of their former players. This isn't hiring Patrice Bergeron.
We haven't talked about Marco Sturm in
he's not
1,000 years, and we talk about the Bruins literally every day on
He's
the show.
not hanging around the building waiting to get given an opportunity to coach this team. So, and from what I've heard, they have interviewed a lot of people. They've interviewed a lot of people for this job.
Which is unlike them, so at least they're doing that. Someone in the chat says, it's Sturm, not Sturm. I was waiting for someone to say that. No, it's Sturm.
We get to
pronounce German.
We get to pronounce words however we want to.
I mean, I guess you technically can. That's not really how like the German alphabet works. Like if it was Sturm, there would be a CH in there.
Sean, have you been in the chat lately?
Well, no, but yes, I have. People are saying that, telling me they're saying,
I just
fuck you.
saw happy birthday, Sean. Fuck you.
That was afterwards because he said that I sound like a guy who gets chased out of house parties, which is not true. I don't get invited to house parties. And then someone says,
I'd invite you to a house party for sure.
I appreciate it. I actually would be a good time at a house
It's
party.
for sure, not sure.
But, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
So it's I say Sturm because I talked to a German guy who knew him.
It's
called him
fun,
Marco
but like,
Sturm, and I've had that in my head since.
like, yeah, I mean, it is just Sturm, so it would just be Sturm, but like.
There is a lot of those where it's like, how far are you going to go? Like, if we want to be real, Chara's last name is Hara.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to do that?
And I mean, there's also plenty of guys like Mikael Granlund. He's said that he doesn't care if people say Michael, but that's not.
Mikael
so
is such a better name than Michael.
I agree, but I understand it's probably a common story amongst foreigners who just get tired of Americans butchering their shit and they're just like fucking whatever. I mean, I do that with my last name. People mispronounce my last. People love saying Deepaz.
I think it's David Pastrnak, right?
It's Pasternak.
Pasternak.
We all silly like the mayor.